SaaS Buyers Club interviews SaaS thought leaders and gets leading industry insights to help founders get their best exit and buyers to get their next best deal. I'm Omid, and I'm a host at SaaS Buyers Club and a partner at Optimus Legal, which is a SaaS M&A law firm.
And I'm Joe. I'm your co-host here at the SaaS Buyers Club, and I'm also a partner with Omid over at Optimus Legal.
So today, the intention and purpose of this episode is really for Joe and I just to introduce ourselves, for everyone listening to get to know us a little bit. And so a little bit about me. I've been a business and corporate attorney for nearly a decade, focused exclusively on business and corporate. I've worked at some of the top startups, some of the biggest law firms and corporations out there. And I'm just really excited to be here and for all the conversations that we're going to have with all the awesome founders and investors and other people in the SaaS industry. And mostly I'm really just most excited about getting a lot of value to the audience, actual actionable value, with the intention of people listening to this podcast taking things away and implementing them so that they truly could get their next deal to be the best that it could be. So that's why I'm here. Joe, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself too?
Yeah, 100%. So as stated earlier, I'm an attorney. I'm an M&A attorney, also corporate and finance. I've worked at top M&A law firms internationally, including the #1 international M&A law firm when I used to be based in Tokyo. I also previously worked at the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. I also previously worked at top startups, including SaaS startups from the inside. I've actually built and sold 2 of my own businesses, one of which was a SaaS business. Ironically, one of the businesses I worked at before, actually a couple businesses, one I worked at with Omid, one of the businesses I worked at before was where I met Omid. We were both lawyers there, and that's where we kicked it off, 7, 8 years ago. And so my key goal here is the same. We're going to be giving you guys great insights, value, tear sheets, other great valuable information about SaaS deals, and for the benefit of SaaS founders who are wanting to sell, PE buyers or strategic buyers who want to buy SaaS businesses, or investors in the SaaS space who are maybe encouraging their own founders to sell, or who have other interests in SaaS M&A.
Yeah, that's great insight into what people can expect from the show. Yeah, so I think a great place for us to start, given that this podcast is focused on SaaS, one of the questions that I always like to ask people is like, why do you do what you do? So I guess to transfer this question and make it applicable to what we're talking about here, like, why do we focus on SaaS, Joe? Why do you focus on SaaS?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's a few things for me that I think align with a lot of people who are in the SaaS space. First and foremost, I enjoy my job and what I do, my contribution to the formula. Being an M&A attorney is fun. The second of all, though, is working in the tech space, working in software. It's not just exciting, but you get to be on the trend of things. You get to be basically in the headlines. I've done a lot of big M&A deals where I was in the headlines, and that's always fun. A little gratuitous or, pleasure seeking there, I suppose. It's just entertaining to be in the news. But actually doing or being part of real advances in technology and like real big deals in the States and on the West Coast, which is where I'm based, is really awesome. I've been based elsewhere and didn't have the same vibe and same excitement. I've done M&A deals that weren't in the SaaS space, wasn't as fun or connected with me. So being in this space is really fun. I also grew up around Seattle, so as you can imagine, grew up around software and stuff and around the whole experience. So it's very near to my heart. I guess there's some other reasons too. Why don't I throw back to you, Omid? What are some, if you have anything else to add on, is there anything else that you'd mention why we like doing what we do?
Totally, man. Yeah. I mean, the focus on SaaS, you mentioned that we met at a startup. And so this might actually be like a great time to tell that story. So I think, and that's kind of what's coming up for me. in this moment in terms of, for me, why I choose to focus on SaaS can really be exemplified by the story of how Joe and I met, and the story, at least on my side, how we met was I'd been working in government. Specifically, I was a staffer in Congress.
The U.S. Congress,
Yeah,
so
U.S.
not
Congress in the
not
Senate.
like a state. Yeah, not a
Yes, that's
state
right. In
representative.
the U.S. Congress. Working with the small business community, I really got turned on to what business is all about and the power of business, and kind of like fell in love with business, but mostly small business. It was like a lot of restaurateurs.
Mm. Oh
Um,
yeah, you were doing a lot of that. I remember that.
yeah, a lot of the like community based stuff. It was a lot of working with local communities and that sort of thing. And it just so happened that one of my mentors became the chief legal officer at Hyperloop, and essentially extended an offer to me to come work at Hyperloop. And when I got there, it totally blew my mind in terms of
Right.
what I saw, which was like this melting pot of incredibly smart people, incredibly talented people, essentially the world's best talent, all in one place. And not only that, but all those people like love to have a good time. Were like just
Yeah, that was so
like
much
there was an
fun.
excitement. There was like a
It was
feeling
like
of
we had like PhD physicists plus like top finance people with finance backgrounds plus like from legal backgrounds, and you name it, we had it. And it was of so many disciplines of engineering. It was really, it was so exciting.
So I mean, the whole culture of startups and tech just immediately resonated with me. To go from the world
Mhm.
of like small business, which also is incredibly important. Don't get me wrong. Like, you know, backbone of community. You know, supporting the
Yeah.
livelihood of like so many Americans. Super important. And I think something weird right now that's going on is like there's almost a battle between small business and tech. Like people are
Right.
like sexy startups, you know, verse like boring businesses is like kind of the
It's been like that
dichotomy
for
of
a
it.
while. It's been like that for a while, but it's definitely amping up, sure.
I think we're seeing even more of it to like right now because that with the democratization of acquisitions, where previously it was mostly like either private equity or corporations or you know that sort of thing that were um, undergoing the M&A activity, whereas like we're seeing kind of with this search fund model, more
Mhm.
everyday people getting into acquiring businesses.
That's
Um,
true.
the allure of startups has like started to wear off for so many people because
Mm.
the access to cash flowing small businesses has opened up through acquisitions. But having had experience in both the worlds, like I've always just been super attracted to the world of tech because tech is the
Right.
future. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Again, no digs against small business whatsoever, but for
Totally.
me, I'm just more lit up by technology. I think it's a lot more exciting for me, and I think most people would agree with that too. You know, the people that love boring businesses aren't saying that startups aren't exciting. They're just saying that boring is much more likely to give you a consistent return than startups do.
Yeah, I don't, I'd even say it's definitional, like that which is exciting is that which has future potential value that you're waiting for, you know, like, and that which is boring is like, okay, it's conservative. We already have expectations, so no excitement is necessary to get our return. It's almost like in the element of the situation itself, and also to vibe with what you're saying there about the excitement around tech. So a little bit more about my background here is, so yeah, growing up in Washington State, the Pacific Northwest, you got to represent. uh, I grew up around tech. I actually became a lawyer because I wanted to be a lawyer involved in tech transactions or working with tech businesses. I ended up out of law school, ended up working for big corporates at big law firms, and not all for tech businesses at all. That's just how it is. So it didn't happen right out of law school, but eventually I returned to my passion, started doing more tech transactions and stuff. And so it was actually the impetus for me originally to become a lawyer. I enjoyed programming and stuff before, and I was back then. It was like programmers didn't make that much money, and it was like, oh man, am I gonna make real money like a lawyer, or am I gonna like do like passion career programming? Like that's a good example of like times changing very rapidly, right? And poor decisions made. Because programmers today, they make a lot too. Lawyers make a lot. If I could go back, I'd do the same thing. But yeah, that was where my mind was at. I was like, be a lawyer. And so, kind of going on to the Hyperloop situation, I had already been in tech a bit before we met there. And this was based in LA, right? In the Arts District in LA is where the business is currently trading as, or commonly known as Hyperloop One, is my recollection. They changed it a couple times. They got like Richard Branson involved at one point. It was ideated by Elon Musk. It was founded by a top American VC. Richard Branson got involved. It was called Virgin Hyperloop One for a minute. I wasn't there during that, so can't comment. And then currently, I'm pretty sure they're known as Hyperloop One. So they're over in the Arts District. The test sites in Nevada. Omid and I. Did you go to the test site with me, Omid?
I actually wasn't at the test site for that
Oh, or
test
any
event.
did because I went several times for like getting like government permits for the big test show and for some other reasons I went. I don't remember. Did you ever go? It's cool if you
I
did.
actually never got to go to the test
Oh
site.
my
Now that
God,
I'm remembering, I
dude,
never got to go to the test site. That's
that's
so
so
funny that
funny.
you're bringing that up because that's making me remember. Yeah, I never got to go to the test site.
Oh, okay, that's funny because I was about to say we went, and then I'm like, wait, you weren't in my memory. So I went. Yeah, we did that. It was fun. I lived in Vegas before, so for like a year and a half, 2 years, when I was in school, like high school and middle school. And so going there was actually kind of nostalgic for me. I didn't think I was ever going to go back to Vegas for any particular reason, besides maybe go to a hotel for a week or something. And so they have this big test site there. It's super awesome. You can Google it. You could see like this huge, giant, multi-million-dollar thing we built, and we were the lawyers related to it, right? In-house. So yeah, that was really fun. That definitely was a great experience for me too, enunciating my interest and emphasizing my interest in tech and working with tech businesses generally. Obviously, SaaS is even better because like there's less hardware capex. Hyperloop, costs so much money, completely different from a SaaS business. There's so many things that are different and actually are in the advantage of SaaS businesses. So that's why a lot of people want to buy SaaS businesses, and it's just definitely its own niche, right? And that's why we're focusing, and we focus on that area. It's definitely been happening in the space for a while, and it's going to continue to happen. There's a lot. We're going to be talking in one of our upcoming episodes about trends in the SaaS ecosystem. And there's just so much going on now, and there's new stuff upcoming too. That's just so killer. We're definitely still in the midst of it, of all of the growth and all of the value capture that's occurring in the SaaS market.
Yeah, and I think for me, the other piece around why specifically SaaS acquisitions, not just SaaS, but specifically why an M&A firm, it's like the exit is, everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people really look forward to the exit. The exit is like a
Mhm.
momentous event. It's like reaching enlightenment for a business, or it's the end of, it's in some ways it's the end of the road. It's the beginning of a new journey. It's
Yeah,
it also signifies like if you've had an exit, it almost is like a badge of honor. It's like, oh yes, like
yeah.
I've achieved something. And it
It's an
also is the
achievement.
payday. It's an achievement, and it's also the payday
Yeah,
as well. So that's where like so
yeah.
many actually get the benefit of all of their hard work.
That's right.
um
If
you
they
know
if it
I,
if all goes well, and again, I'd plug, definitely you need a M&A attorney because it does not always all go well. And for people here who are listening who are veterans in the space, they know that, and For people, if you're a first-time founder looking to sell your business, that's something you come to learn.
Actually, that brings me to an interesting place in this episode. What do you think about giving people a tip of the day, a SaaS tip of the day?
Gosh, we're going to be giving so much good information from a professional advisor perspective and being industry experts that there's going to be 100 tips in each episode, but we could like earmark one. That sounds really cool for me. And also to play back a little bit with what you were just talking about there. Um, I really agree with the fact that the exit's a really big point for SaaS businesses. A lot of people they're in the weeds, or there's you can't see the forest for the trees type situation, or however that goes. Basically, there's so much going on at some point, like you can really lose track of what people's objectives are. So one thing that I like to communicate to business owners is make sure you understand what your exit opportunities are at all times. Because you're building a business and you can become self-deluded pretty quick. And we'll touch more on the subject over time, but just to kind of cap the subject here with a little bit of information. You own a SaaS business, it can become tied up with your personal identity. Especially if you're an engineer, there's all these cool things you want to build and like deliver on. But at some point, you need to sit back and be like, this is a business. What is my liquidity event? What is it gonna be worth? What valuation can I get when, et cetera, et cetera. All those important things that you need to think about the exit that are so vital. And that exit is what founders dream of when they start their business. But sometimes they get lost midway and they're like, oh, should I exit? Or like, what does exit look like? Sometimes they're just like so involved in their business is going well, they kind of lose that end goal about like, hey, I want to exit for 50 million. I want to exit for 250 million. And that is definitely like essential to the whole subject and something that we focus on a lot in talking about what it means to exit, all the issues that arise, like what founders and buyers both should be thinking about, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so it sounds like your tip summarized is keep your eye on the exit.
That's right. Now, that's a good one. We could do that for the tip of the day. Keep your eye on the exit. Understand what it means to exit.
Yeah. And what about for buyers? Do you have a tip for buyers?
Oh, that's a great one. I could say a lot of things, I guess, but I could put one out there, which is just correlated with the first tip, which is be aware of off-market SaaS company founders who are willing to exit but just haven't thought of it before. And you can get good deals if you go off market and target those founders and talk to them, get them familiar with the process, refer them to this podcast so they could learn more about the process, etc. That'd be my second tip.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about when we talk to buyers, because we're going to be interviewing some really great buyers. Their deal flow process.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
But for that tip specifically, the deal flow process for buyers is I think going to be really insightful for people to get those off market deals.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's going to be really fun to sit down with top SaaS experts and see what they each do, because each of them have like their own sometimes there's idiosyncrasies, right? And it's going to be really cool to walk through those. So all viewers are going to be able to just learn so much by sitting down here on our podcast with top SaaS experts.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I had for us to cover on this episode. You want to take it to close?
Yeah, let's do that. Just in closing, stay tuned, sit tight and listen to our other episodes. We're going to be having a lot of really cool people on that we're interviewing that are SaaS buyers, private equity or otherwise, and SaaS founders, even SaaS repeat founders, some of them legendary. So stay tuned for that and enjoy the show.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. As Joe mentioned, make sure you subscribe and tune in for our next episode. Episode 2, we're going to be doing a deal review. So we'll see you there.